Hello everyone. This section onwards, I'm starting the actual Databricks course, and let's start with the introduction of Databricks. What is it and what Databricks is capable of doing? First of all, before going into Databricks, we need to understand the data workflow, which is pretty important because we need to understand how the data flows from one system to another and how eventually data is used for analytical purpose and where the data engineering falls in this entire flow of data. First, let's talk about some applications. And when I say applications, it can be web applications, it can be mobile applications, it can be IoT devices, smart devices, real-time applications also. Let's talk about some web applications. So let's say you are using a online retail portal like Amazon.com. So that is a web application, and you place some orders using the web application. In that case, obviously some data would be generated. For example, the order that you are creating or the order that you are placing. So it would create some data because you would place the order, it would have an order ID. Along with it, it will have multiple items associated with the order. Now, for Amazon to deliver your order, it definitely needs to store the data which contains the actual order that was placed by the customer. So this is an example of a web application. There can be other web applications also, for example, bank portal, and you are transferring money online from one account to another. That is also a web application. And if you think of money transfer, you are debiting some amount from your account and you are crediting the same amount to another account. So the data has to be captured also, otherwise it would not be known from which account the amount was debited to which account the amount was credited. Again, it would also generate some data. That is example of another web application. Similarly, we can have mobile applications also. Almost all the web applications have corresponding mobile applications also. And there can be applications which are mobile only, which means the applications are available only in mobile, not in web. Now you are watching this video also in a web application because you have logged into my website and then you are watching this video. So you can consider the website www.3am.in also as a web application. Now there can be other applications also. For example, IoT devices, temperature sensors, earthquake sensors. Let's say there are motion sensors in your house. There are traffic videos or traffic sensors, etc. And all these sensors pertain to IoT devices. Not only that, we have smart devices also like smart TV, smart fridge, etc. All of them generate some data or the other. And there can be real-time applications also like stock market, right? So if you are doing some trading in the stock market, then you need to have an app which will provide you the real-time stock price, the real-time stock quantity bought, stock quantity sold, etc. And these are called real-time applications. Of course, there can be a lot of other applications, but these are the major applications that you can see around you. Now, all these applications store the data in OLTP databases or files. Most of the applications would be storing data in OLTP databases or in files also. Now, when I say OLTP databases, these are transactional databases, and it can be both relational and non-relational transaction database. Example of relational databases are PostgreSQL, MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, etc. And example of non-relational databases are MongoDB, DynamoDB, Cassandra, Cosmos DB, etc. Files can also be used to store data. However, applications do not use files as much, but the usage of files come in when we want to extract some data from these databases. So let's say you are extracting data from the databases and you want to store them using files in CSV format or Parquet format or anything of that sort. Now these files are also part of the application. Now, when I talk about application, of course, there can be multi-tier applications, there can be microservices, etc. But I'm not going into the details of those. I'm just showing you how the applications would be. Of course, when you talk about web applications like bank portal, online retail portal, or car rent services, etc., all of them will have very complex n-tier applications which will use microservices patterns. But however, this is the application lifecycle. So the application lifecycle ends at the database. And most of the data that we see around us, or most of the data that we see or that we use, are generated by the applications. Of course, data do not come out of the blue. All the data that we see, those are generated by the applications. And the OLTP databases are the places where the application lifecycle ends. Application lifecycle starts from maybe the front end application. From there, it goes to maybe API gateway. Then you have multi-tier or multi-layered applications like tier 1, tier 2, etc., which are hosted by microservices or which are designed using microservices or monolithic architecture, does not matter. The data are generated by these applications, and then these data are stored in OLTP databases in most of the cases. And OLTP databases can be relational and non-relational databases. And there can be files also. Now, in most of the cases, the file would be the extraction of these databases. So this is the application lifecycle. The database is the place where the application lifecycle ends. And the data that we see are generated by multiple applications around us. It can be web applications, mobile applications, IoT devices, smart devices, etc. Now this is where things become interesting, because where the application lifecycle ends, the data lifecycle begins there. Meaning that the OLTP databases is the place where our data workflow or data lifecycle starts. And we call these OLTP databases, we call these files as sources. Some applications can also be sources, for example, real-time applications, smart devices, etc. But as far as application lifecycle is concerned, the OLTP databases and the files are the places which are source of data for the data engineering pipeline or for the data lifecycle. Now, once we have these sources, it can be applications or it can be databases also, we ingest the data into the data engineering pipeline. Now, after we ingest the data, we store the data in various formats. I'll talk about various formats later on, but after ingesting the data, of course, we have to store it in some place so that the transformation logic can be applied on these data. Now, this transformation logic are nothing but the data processing. So we need to process the data and then store it again. So that's why you have this storage layer as an L. The first storage layer would cater to the ingestion functionality of the data pipeline or the data lifecycle, and the second storage layer will cater to the data which is processed by the transformation layer or the processing layer. Now, after that, we need to consume the data, and there are multiple consumption applications like reporting tools, ad hoc applications, etc. Any which ways, these are the different stages of data lifecycle. We have the data sources here in OLTP databases and files. Of course, we can have data sources from real-time applications or smart devices or IoT devices also. Then we ingest the data and store it in the first layer of storage. Then the data is transformed, the data is processed and stored it back again before it is sent to the consumption applications. Now, when you talk about ingestion, when you talk about the ingestion stage, there are two types of ingestions. First is the batch ingestion and the other one is the streaming ingestion. There is a clear-cut demarcation between batch ingestion and streaming ingestion. In batch ingestion, we ingest the data or we pull the data at a certain frequency. Let's say on an hourly basis, or maybe on a 6-hourly basis, or once a day or once a week, etc. Not only that, when you ingest the data or when you pull the data using batch ingestion, we know how much data would be extracted and how much data would be pulled into the data lifecycle or into the data engineering pipeline, because the data is pulled at a certain interval and we know how much data would be generated at that certain interval. But in case of streaming ingestion, that is not the scenario. For streaming ingestion, the data generation is continuous and the data ingestion is also continuous. So that's why using batch ingestion, we ingest data from these OLTP databases, both SQL and NoSQL databases, and from files also. But as far as streaming ingestion is concerned, we can get the continuous data from IoT devices, from smart devices, from real-time applications also. Now, one call out, it does not necessarily mean that these applications like the IoT devices, smart devices, etc. will always ingest the data in the data lifecycle or in the data engineering pipeline. They can decide to store the data in OLTP databases also. mostly NoSQL databases. And from there, it would be fed to the data engineering pipeline. Any which ways, the sources can be the OLTP databases, files, or IoT devices, smart devices, and real-time applications. So these are the two types of ingestion. One is batch ingestion and the other one is streaming ingestion. Of course, I'll talk about it in details later on. After we ingest the data, we have to store the data at a certain place. And when we store this data, the data is in its raw format. Nothing has changed. The data is just the way that the application generated. So it can be data lake, it can be lakehouse also. So when I say data lake, all the cloud service providers have their corresponding data lake. For example, AWS has AWS S3, then Azure has ADLS or Azure Data Lake Storage, Google has Google Cloud Storage, etc. And it can be lakehouse also. Lakehouse is nothing but an open table format on top of the data lake, like Iceberg and Delta Lake. We'll talk about the lakehouse architecture also. But once we ingest the data, once the ingestion stage is completed, the data is stored in these storage layers using either data lake or lakehouse. After that, it goes to processing, and the processing or the transformation is also divided into two parts as per the ingestion stage. Because we have batch ingestion and streaming ingestion, and I already told you the difference between batch ingestion and streaming ingestion. Batch ingestion is something that we know how much data to process, but that is not the case for streaming ingestion. In streaming ingestion, the data would come continuously. So that's why the data processing or the transformation stage is also divided into two parts. One is the batch processing and the other one is the stream processing. In case of batch processing, the data is pulled from the storage layer. It can be lakehouse, it can be data lake. In case of stream processing, the data can be pulled from the storage layer also. If the streaming ingestion is storing the data in the storage layer, then the stream processing will pull the data from the storage layer. Otherwise, the stream processing will pull the data or extract the data from the ingestion layer directly. And this is the most common scenario. When you talk about stream processing, when you talk about streaming dashboard, the data is pulled from the ingestion stage and landed directly on the transformation stage. And transformation is nothing but the data processing. And once it is done, the data is stored again because the data has been processed, it has been aggregated, it has been cleansed, it might have been enriched. Now all these data are stored in different set of storage layers like data warehouse, databases, and data lakehouse. In most of the cases, it would be data warehouse and data lakehouse. Now, when I say database, this would be OLTP databases. Some NoSQL databases are used for real-time dashboard also. But in majority of the cases, it would be data warehouse and data lakehouse. If you want real-time dashboard, then the data would be stored in OLTP databases. It can be relational and non-relational databases also. And from there, it goes to the consumption layer where a different set of applications sit. For example, reporting applications or reporting tools like Power BI, Tableau, Click, etc. There can be ad hoc analytics also, wherein the data scientists or data analysts would run ad hoc SQL directly on top of the data that is being stored in data warehouses, data lakehouses, and databases. We can create semantic layer also. Semantic layer is used for the reporting tools. It can be used as an input to the reporting tools, and the data can be sent to the ML pipeline also. And this is where the data lifecycle ends. So you see, there is a very common correlation between the application lifecycle and the data lifecycle or data engineering pipeline. The data lifecycle starts where the application lifecycle ends, because we have OLTP databases which store the data that is being generated by multiple applications or various applications, and these data are used as sources for the data engineering pipeline. For streaming data or for stream processing, the data sources can be directly the applications like IoT devices, smart devices, and real-time applications. Now, depending on these applications, there are two types of ingestion. Ingestion stage is nothing but the stage where we pull the data from this different sources, different data sources. And depending on the sources, it is divided into two parts. One is the batch ingestion and the other one is the streaming ingestion. After the data is pulled, we store it in primary or rudimentary storage like data lake or lakehouse. From there, it goes to the transformation or processing layer, which is again divided into two parts. One is the batch processing and the other one is the stream processing. Batch processing deals with the batch ingestion and stream processing deals with the streaming ingestion. After the processing is done, the data is stored in another storage layer using data warehouse, data lakehouse, and databases. And from there, it goes to the consumption layer, wherein multiple reporting tools, ad hoc analytics, machine learning pipeline, or GenAI pipeline are hydrated or fed the processed data. So this is what the data workflow is. You can call it as data lifecycle or data engineering pipeline also. Now, as far as Databricks is concerned, it deals with the entire data lifecycle. So let's go ahead and see how Databricks does that.